Hey, it is Nikki T, and today we're digging into something that every woman over 40 has wrestled with, healing emotional eating, but a little bit different without the whole diet rules. So, the more rules you follow, the more you want to break them. So, I want you to think about this. The last time you said, I can't eat bread, didn't bread somehow become the most sexiest food on the planet? That is not weakness, that is psychology. Restriction always fuels rebellion. It is like a rubber band. You pull that back, it's either going to snap from the tension or it's going to fly forward and do damage. So, if you've been dieting for decades, you're not just dealing with food rules, you're carrying an entire rule book that was never written for you. So, today I'm going to show you how to toss out that rule book and finally heal emotional eating from the inside out. This is the biggest thing between dieters mentality. Dieters mentality focuses on the external, what is going on around you, as opposed to what is going on internally. So, we're going to be talking about the role of the inner child in cravings. We're going to be talking about what emotional nourishment really looks like. And it's not another bubble bath cliche. How to rebuild self trust with food without counting, measuring, or logging, and a powerful way to align your body's wisdom after 40. By the end of this podcast, you're going to have some tools that you can start using today to feel freer, lighter, and more at peace with food. So, if you are new here, welcome to Weight Loss for Women Over 40 podcast. Welcome to my little corner of the podcast world. This is the podcast that you will break your brain from dieter's mentality. And you're going to learn ways on how to lose weight by setting up your mindset first so you can not just lose the weight, but keep it off. So, with over 23 plus years as a personal trainer, a health coach, and a behavioral coach, among other things, I've also done 2 TEDx talks, and I am a woman who is about to turn 52, depending on when you listen to this. My birthday is August 29th. It is coming up this Friday. If I hadn't experienced firsthand, I've either learned it or I've seen it in the thousands of women that I've coached and trained over the past 2 decades. So you're in the right place if you keep trying over and over and nothing is working, nothing is sticking. If you want to take a step further, either join my group, which is Master Your Mind to Change Your Body. You can go to weightlossforwomenover40.net/group, or you can apply to work with me privately in my private coaching, and that is at weightlossforwomenover40.net/call. All right, so let's dive into today's topic. So, why rules backfire, and they always will. So, I was a ballet dancer. And as a ballet dancer, there were some strict food rules. They talked about it was so messed up. There was like, it was interesting, like, depending on where I was in my career, because I danced professionally in ballet companies. But, in the beginning, it was like no sugar, no fat, no late night eating. You basically starve yourself and then you overeat on the weekends, or you starve yourself as much as possible until the performance. And then once the performance is over, you go and basically put a feed bag on and eat everything in sight. So I know for me, I wasn't anorexic or bulimic or anything like that, but I did have very disorganized eating habits. And I know a lot of women, especially in the ballet world, who unfortunately have died of anorexia, have died of bulimia, who, took that route because of this look that dancers are supposed to emulate. And, now I think it's changing a little bit depending on what part of the dance world you're in, and I'm grateful for that. But there's a lot of other, whether you did figure skating is another one, wrestling, if you were a guy. I know girls are getting into wrestling too, but, whenever there's a weight limit type thing, um, so that plays into it. But the reason there are, like, when you start setting these rules up, there's like this obsession part to it. And especially, again, I really feel like, with ballet or anything you're really serious about, especially as a child, you take on these things that people tell you and you don't actually have the right information. Again, I feel like, and again, I'm out of the dance world, but I feel like just seeing what I've seen, it's becoming a little bit more common knowledge, because we have so much information available at our fingertips. But again, even as fitness competitors and things like that, there's a certain obsessive level that you need to be at. And again, if you're looking at that and you are creating these rules, at some point you're going to snap. So, because our brains are wired for survival. And when you say never again to certain foods, your brain hears this food is scarce. I better binge as much as possible before it's gone. I have talked about this in my podcast before, the Last Supper syndrome, where usually it happens on a Sunday because Monday is like diet day, restart day. And you eat as much as possible on Sunday because you're starting again on Monday, right? It's the scarcity mindset. There's also an add-in of like your inner child. So depending on how you grew up and how food was presented to you, there's a whole nother dynamic. I coach clients on this all the time and it's very individualized. So, but that part of you that still craves freedom and play, um, you know, when you set up this strict rules, you're going to rebel at some point. And that's why emotionally eating, it's not a character flaw. It's really a survival mechanism. And it's a rebellion against all this control you're putting on yourself. Now, most of the women that work with me are very type A. They're very structured, high achievers, perfectionists. And you ladies, you ones, you are the ones that have such a tight grasp. And trust me, I know because I'm one of them. I'm a former one of them, but you have such a tight grasp on it that at some point you're gonna, what they call the fuckets, right? Or screw it. I'm just gonna eat it all, and you rebel. So if you're stuck in emotional eating, it's not because you lack discipline. God only knows. We know how to be disciplined. It's because you're over disciplined. You don't allow yourself the freedom to do other things. So here's a question I want you to ask yourself this week. So next time you're standing in front of the pantry, I want you to ask yourself, what am I actually hungry for? And maybe it is food. If it is food, you are going to have a physiological response. You're going to have hunger signals. You're going to stomachs growl. You're going to feel a little lightheaded depending on your blood sugars. But if you're not feeling those symptoms, chances are it's an emotional hunger. I like to call it brain hunger. So ask yourself, is it food? But it could also be connection because you maybe have been giving yourself to other people, to your spouse, to your kids, to your employees, to your coworkers, to your family members, your mom, dad, brother, sister, whatever. You may want connection just for yourself. You may want to be taken care of instead of having to be the one to take care of everyone else. You also may just want some rest, like not just mentally, sometimes physically. Maybe your body is whispering, hey, we need some downtime. We tend to, again, in our society, especially in America, because I know this podcast is all over the world, but in America, it's like push, 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 push until your body physically puts the brakes on and says, hell no, we're stopping this. You're getting sick. The other thing it could be is you're looking for comfort, right? Most of the time for emotional eating, you are looking for some sort of instant gratification or some sort of comfort. And a lot of times it's, again, you feel like you have a lot of stress in your life, or you maybe had a fight with someone you love, or maybe you're bored. That's another thing. But remember, stress can have you wound up super tight and you just want comfort. You want that release because you don't want to stay in that emotion. So food often becomes the fastest, most reliable source of relief. Again, we were taught this, but it's never the real problem. That is the signal, right? That's the symptom of what's going on. It's not the root cause of what's going on, which is again what I dive into with clients because I can't do that on a podcast because I don't know who I'm talking to because we all have different patterns. We all have different things that have happened in our life. So I can give you kind of a general idea, but if you want to take it further and you want to really pinpoint what's going on in your particular life, you need to work with me because that's the only way to do it. But I'm going to give you a tip that you can use for this week. So keep a hunger journal for 1 week. And this is not about calories. This is not about counting or anything that you eat. It is really about what you're craving. And I want you to write down in your journal when this hits, what do I want right now? What do I want right now in this moment? What might I really be needing? And you're going to start to see that there's some patterns that shift everything. So most women over 40 do not need another diet. Let's get real here, ladies. How many diets have you tried? How many? I mean, on hand, I think the average 40-year-old woman has had probably a minimum of 5 diets, at least. At least. I know I talk to women and they're like, I've tried everything, every single diet, everything. The shot, the pill, everything, even weight loss surgery. But anyway, I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole if I keep going that way. But what happens is you don't need another diet. You need to repair the relationship of trust with yourself and your body, right? So I'm going to give you a 3-step formula to kind of help you with this. So number one is so vital. You have to get curious and stop being so judgy about yourself. Before like when you're in this moment of craving, before you go to eat, I want you to check in with yourself. And again, ask yourself, are you physically hungry or are you emotionally hungry? There's two very distinct lines between the two, right? Again, physical hunger, you're going to feel some sort of sensation in your body, growling, salivation, that kind of thing. Emotional hunger, it's pretty much anything but that. So if you're questioning, I'm not sure, chances are it's just emotional hunger. Both answers are okay. Okay, so don't judge yourself, just get curious. Curiosity opens up the space. Judgment will completely shut it down. Next, give yourself full permission. So I know this sounds terrifying, and hear me out. The foods you fear will lose their power when you allow yourself to eat them. I dive deep into my Crush Your Cravings course in this topic. And so if you want to grab it, go to weightlossforwomenover40.net/crush. But there is a whole psychological component to your cravings. That pint of ice cream doesn't feel so urgent when you know it's never off limits. And this is why I have my no off limits policy for my clients. Next, I want you to debrief yourself without shame. So after you're done eating, I want you to ask yourself, how do I feel? Am I energized? Am I satisfied? Do I feel like I'm going to crash? This isn't about guilt or shame. It's about gathering data. Think of yourself as a scientist running an experiment on yourself, not a student that is being graded on whether you did good or bad. So over time, these micro decisions, these micro moments are going to build a muscle of trust that you need. And then you're going to start to realize I can trust myself around food and I don't need the rules anymore. So here's the shift that gives women chills when they experience it. So when you stop fighting food, your body's wisdom gets louder. You will start noticing that you crave different types of foods when you are stressed. You may find that you're craving foods that are not as heavy, like physically heavy. You may feel you want to have things that feel lighter in your body. You may feel like you need heartier foods or more heavier foods at different times in your life. So you naturally will gravitate towards foods that make you feel energized, not because of rules, but because you're in alignment with your body and what your body is telling you. So when you're over 40, alignment matters more than ever. Your hormones are shifting, your metabolism is adjusting, and your body is really asking you to tune in. It's always been asking you to tune in. Doesn't matter if you're over 40. In the 20s, I feel like we're having a different conversation with our bodies, right? Listen to your body. The real food freedom is knowing that you can choose anything and still choosing what feels good. Not out of fear, but out of trust in yourself and in your body. So emotional eating is not a flaw. It's your body and your mind trying to get your attention. Instead of chasing the next diet rules, what if you asked yourself, what does my inner child need right now? What am I emotionally hungry for? How can I build trust again, one decision at a time? Because food freedom isn't never eating those chocolate chip cookies again or skipping the tiramisu. It's about knowing you can have those favorite foods of yours and trusting yourself enough to stop when you've had enough. This is a big thing with women that I talk to. They think that if they give themselves permission, that they are going to just eat everything in sight and blow up like a pufferfish. I promise you, in guided hands, and I mean mine, you that will not happen. I love when new clients come in and they learn my rule number one and the three steps, and then they come back next week and they have no foods off limits, and they're like, I can't believe the things that I ate and I still lost a pound. Yep. It is possible. So you don't need more willpower. You need more permission for yourself. So if you need it right now, I'm granting it to you. Permission to eat whatever the hell you want. So when you give yourself that, the emotional eating starts to lose its grip. Not because you force it away, but because you finally have met the need that's underneath of it. Remember, emotional eating is the symptom, it is not the root cause. If you want to get solid on navigating your emotional eatings, again, go grab my course, Crush Your Cravings. It is currently on sale for a limited time. This course gets right to the point. There is no fluff in it. And by this weekend, if you grab it before this weekend, you could be navigating your cravings. And that doesn't mean not eating your favorite foods, right? Because we have a holiday coming up this weekend in the US. It's Labor Day weekend. Doesn't mean not having the hot dog, the cookies, the barbecue, the whatever thing that lights you up. Maybe you're at the shore. I know where I live, it's a big thing to go down the shore. The funnel cake, the Coors Brothers ice cream. I know that's one of my favorite. Doesn't mean you're not going to eat that stuff. It means you're able to navigate it and understand better why you're doing it. And you get tools and Crush Your Cravings on how to still eat what you want and still be on course for the goals that you set for that leaner, healthier body that you want. So go grab it over at weightlossforwomenover40.net/crush. All the links I talk about are always in the show notes, so you can always pop in there and grab it. Thank you so much for tuning into Weight Loss for Women Over 40. If today's episode hit home for you, please share it with a friend who's tired of food rules and just the overwhelmingness of dieting. And remember, the real transformation isn't shrinking your body, it's expanding your freedom. So I'm going to say happy birthday to me because that's coming up. And happy Labor Day to everyone who is celebrating it. And if you're not celebrating anything this weekend, happy weekend. It's okay. It's all good. All right. I will see you in the next episode or over on social media. Have a great one.